And but let's go through some college football.
Okay.
So yeah, it was an interesting day yesterday in college football. Alabama was I don't think they're number one now, but they had a big fat sloppy mess of a game against Texas A&M. I don't know if it came down to the last play, A&M with 3 seconds to go on the 1 or 2 yard line trying to score. They didn't score. They ended up losing 24-20. It was it was an amazing finish, but man, what a crappy played game. But it's amazing to me, like I've been saying this before, that Texas A&M is one of those teams. They have talent, they just can't figure anything out. They're all over the place. Their offense is really bad. So my overall take on that is, Alabama played with their backup quarterback. They turned it over 4 times. They missed 2 field goals.
Right.
They did everything wrong that you could do to try to lose a game. But, if Texas A&M had any offense, if they had any rhythm or flow or anything consistently on offense, they would have won that game easily.
Right.
I give Texas A&M a lot of credit. They played hard. The quarterback was getting the crap beat out of him. He kept coming back. He kept trying to make plays. It was a rough game the whole time. They had such a hard time, but it shows how much talent that they have, that they managed to, Texas A&M almost won that game. It's like they're definitely, Alabama's a much better team, but Texas A&M figured out how to hang in there. It's one of those things, like, I'm not going to make sweeping generalizations, but if you look at Alabama's last, 6-7 games, well, going to last season, so I'd say last 8-9 games, something like that. A lot of them, they haven't played well. They didn't play well last year against LSU, against Auburn. They beat the crap out of Georgia the first time they played them, but they didn't play great the second time they played them. They didn't play well against Texas A&M. They didn't play well against Texas. Like, they've had a handful of games now where it's like, man, this is rough. And, so I think I've kind of caught on to what Alabama is, and I think Alabama's a good team with a great quarterback. And so they're able to make up for all of these things that happen because Bryce Young is special. He's gotten them out of some tough situations. That Auburn game last year, they should have lost. Like, they never get to overtime if they don't have Bryce Young playing quarterback. He's fantastic. So I think this is going to be a really interesting year for college football, because I don't think, like, you're looking at the top 3 teams, right? Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, in whatever order you want to put them in, and none of them are great. And I don't think any of them are going to all of a sudden be great. I think they're very good, but I don't think they're going to all of a sudden be great. So, we'll see how it goes. But this was, this was a really interesting game. Texas A&M went on the road, hung in there with them for 4 quarters, almost pulled it off. So we'll see going forward what Alabama is. But any thoughts from you on that?
I mean, that's I would agree with that. And that's why you need it. That's why it's great to have a great quarterback, because you can make up for not playing well in the other with the rest of the team not playing as well as you need to play. So it'll be interesting to see as you get later on in the season if somebody can pick off Alabama. But you still feel like it's going to be Bama and Georgia in the SEC championship game. But it does make you wonder, like if Bama loses that game, like they're kind of out.Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Georgia struggled with Missouri last week, and
right.
So you can see it's this year is a little more parity than we had before. This year is there's a handful of teams that I think.
Yeah, Clemson seems to be back to being pretty good. So
yeah, there's a handful of teams that I think have a shot. So some other college football thoughts for me. Listen, I still have no idea if Michigan is good or how good they are. They struggled for 3 quarters with Indiana. They were tied 10-10, and then they managed to score several touchdowns and win, by 21. But it concerns me that Michigan has trouble scoring against Iowa and Indiana. That's a little bothersome. And, I thought from the start of the season that, Ohio State would get Michigan back this year. I just think, offensively, Ohio State's just at a completely different level than Michigan is. And so I think, and plus, Michigan had to replace both coordinators, but they're trying to get J.J. McCarthy to be really good eventually. He's not, he's nowhere near it yet. He misses, he misses too many throws, and, their offense, they're running the ball, but it's going to be a different game when they play Ohio State. So I'm not convinced, I don't know that Michigan's for real. They have to play Penn State next week. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that was a very uninspiring, unimpressive performance against Indiana.
Yeah.
So the Red River shootout, or the Red River rivalry, or as we call it this year, the Red River massacre. That was ugly. Texas went in there and we talked about Oklahoma last week, but man, Oklahoma's defense is terrible. That's unbelievable. They're like 55 points to TCU, 49 points to Texas. It's going to be a rough go for Oklahoma, but I will say, from what I saw, Texas is a different team with Quinn Ewers starting at quarterback. When they have him in, they've got a real team. I know they lost to Texas Tech, with him out, but with if he's if he plays the rest of the season, they got a real shot to win that conference. It's really up for grabs. If they play like that. Now, granted, I don't imagine they're going to be beating everybody 49-0, but I was impressed. And Oklahoma's got a lot of work to do, obviously.
Right.
So we'll see.
Lincoln Riley and,
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know. Now, listen, Oklahoma's quarterback was out, but that's not an excuse for getting beat by that much. But I do understand where they're coming from. The other thing I wanted to mention was that the Pac-12 and the Big 12. I'll tell you what, pretty good conferences. From top to bottom, they have 3 or 4 teams in each conference that are pretty good. I think that as far as the Pac-12 is concerned, UCLA and USC are both legit. They're both undefeated. So I think when they play each other, that's going to be a hell of a game.
Right.
I think that the Big 12 is ultra competitive. You talk about Oklahoma State, Texas, Baylor, TCU. Kansas was undefeated until yesterday. So I think this is it's really cool that those conferences are as competitive as they are, because we haven't really had that recently. Maybe, and we'll see if one of those teams from either conference can make the playoff. I'm not convinced of that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. The schedule is going to get a little bit more difficult, but yeah, I'm really. It's going to be really interesting, because Alabama's got tough teams coming up. They got to play Tennessee, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, LSU. So it's not going to be easy. Alabama's got to play. So next week they play Tennessee on the road. Penn State plays Michigan. Oklahoma State plays TCU, and USC plays Utah. So it's going to be a fascinating slate of games. I still think, if you're asking me, I still think, Alabama and Georgia, at least one of them will definitely be in. It could be 2 of them. Whoever wins the Big Ten will probably be in. And then, if I'm not sure at this point anybody's going to beat Clemson from the ACC. So I think it's probably the SEC champion, the Big Ten champion, Clemson, and then we'll see what happens with that 4th spot. If there's an undefeated Big 12 or Pac-12 team, maybe.
Right.
But, yeah. And, as a side note, Notre Dame is really boring. Notre Dame's offense is like watching grass grow. It's just, oh my God. So, I hope that they can get better as the season goes along, because it's painful to watch. You watch the NFL on Sunday and then you try to watch Notre Dame play, and it's like, oh man, that's a little lower level there. But anyway, yeah, that's my that's my college football news for this week.